Week 11 has come and gone. And the question is, where'd all the points go? The most points anybody put up this week was 192? And we had people winning with 132 points, 128 points, 149 points? What's going on in fantasy football right now? Is it because of all the injuries to the running backs? That's the only thing I can think, but it's by far the lowest week of scoring we've ever had in the 8-9 years we've been playing fantasy football together. So now we look at the playoff picture, and it's gotten shaken up a little bit. The matchups that happened, well, there's two people that actually scored points. Rob scores 192 and beats Saul, who scored 167. Saul would have beaten 10 out of the 12 people this week, but he gets a loss, and I guess that's fantasy football. George Rosenkrantz, he wins 178 to 94. Balky putting up the least amount of points all week by anybody. Mr. Rosenkrantz, an easy win there. Then you get to some of the odd wins. 128 to 124, Joe Basile finds a way to win with only 128 points and without a receiver in his lineup. He had a blank spot in his lineup this week and still wins, even though Doug Martin put up 56 for my brother. Then you have the inglorious Bradfords. Dozer wins the battle of the household, staying in the playoffs, even though he scored only 132 points to 126 over Gina. Jason Gill finds his winning ways continuing, 162 to 125 over Tim. 9-2 now, but only 125 points this week. I beat Paul, and for the first time all season, Paul's not in the top 6 in the standings. 149 to 120. So how does that affect the playoffs? We'll get that in a moment after the Eliminator. Eliminator immunity will go to Rob. Like I said, he's the only one that scored 190 points or more. So next week, he's safe. He's automatically into week 13 of the Eliminator to win the $80. Tim, who's been the most dominant team all year long, scored 125 points and is eliminated. So it'll be between me and Saul next week to see who moves on to week 13 to face Rob for the Eliminator crown. Now we go to standings to see where everything is updated there. Joe Basile, with his win, and since he has the head-to-head win against me, has the lead in the Sisley division. But we'll get to that more in a moment. Balky's still in it. He's only 1 game behind both of us. Tim, again, won his division. That's over. Gina's at 4-7, so she still has a chance at the playoffs, but after losing to her husband, it's a little slimmer. The sales team in Saul Doan has a 1-game lead over both Mr. Rosenkrantz and Paul Barnett, who is now in last place, effectively, in his division. And then you have the little bearded man, who has a 2-game lead over Dozer, and pretty much has sealed up that division, because even though they play each other, Rob already won in week 1, and the little bearded man of Rob has almost 200 points, actually has more than 300 points more. So I don't see Dozer making up 300 points in 2 weeks. So Rob is pretty much assured of his division and the number 2 seed. So the 2 buys are pretty much sealed up as we look at the playoff positioning. So the number 1 seed is Tim for now. Rob could overtake him. He's only 1 game behind him there. Rob has the number 2 seed. So those 2 are pretty much assured of the buys, and everybody else is just fighting for playoff positioning. The other 2 division leaders right now, Saul gets the number 3 seed. Joe Basile gets the number 4 seed. The first wild card goes to Dozer because he has the head-to-head win over me, even though we have the same record. And I have the 6th seed. So that is how it looks right now. Then you look down. Mr. Rosenkrantz is all of a sudden the first man out. He is on fire lately and now is the 7th seed heading into the playoffs. Balky is the 8th. On the outside looking in. Everybody else is kind of fighting. My brother is out. Everybody else still has somewhat of a chance to get in the playoffs. And we look forward to this week. And the marquee matchup has to be mine because it's for a division lead and a number 3 seed in the playoffs. Or number 2 seed or 4 seed in the playoffs. Me versus Joe Basile will face each other this week in week 12 to see who's going to have the upper hand in that division. Paul Barnett's going to try to get back on track against a hot Mr. Rosenkrantz team. See if Mr. Rosenkrantz can continue his push toward a possible playoff berth. Jason Gill tries to find his slim playoff chances to be continued as he plays my brother. Rob and Dozer. Rob has already won that division. Dozer's fighting for a playoff spot. Rob wants the number 1 overall seed. Balky trying to stay alive will play Saul, and Saul wants to keep his division lead. We'll see what happens there. And then Tim, effectively, all he's fighting for is now the #1 overall seed. He will face Gina. And update on the trade deadline. It will be December 3rd. Next Thursday will be no more trades after that. So if you want to get your trades in, make sure you make them before next Thursday. That is everything. Again, Rob has immunity. He's automatically on to week 13 of the season for the Eliminator. And Tim has been eliminated. I will see you guys next week where we'll have a clearer picture, hopefully, of what's going to happen with the playoffs. Talk to you then.